Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the FrostBytez gaming experience. We are now on part 28 of the Pokemon Blue walkthrough. Did some grinding with the Lapras at this point of the video, just showed off the stats relatively quickly just to showcase that, hey, you know, off screen I did some quick grinding, got him to a relatively good level, and also plan on using it during this upcoming gym. Even though Lapras doesn't really have any kind of particular strengths when going against psychic types, this being a psychic gym, I still mostly wanted to utilize it because it's like, hey, I just got this Pokemon, let's go ahead and show it off, and what better way to do it than, you know, in a psychic gym for whatever reason. Relatively doesn't start off too well, as I just get obliterated using Lapras being relatively underleveled, and at some point I do believe halfway through I have to make a cut because I end up going back to heal up Lapras because it just got its ass kicked a little bit too much. So the gimmick of this gym, nothing really too big. You just have groups of teleporters that you gotta walk through in order to go to another section to find another trainer or get to Sabrina herself. Generally, what I usually do is that once I start getting on the teleporter, I go immediately into the one that's either directly to the left or directly to the right of the one that I had just used, as a means to make sure that I do fight every single trainer within this gym before taking on Sabrina herself, because once again, we're looking at fighting every single trainer within this game. Also, if you do it this way, no matter what, you are going to find yourself getting a Sabrina one way or another instead of continuously guessing on which teleporter is going to take me where, basically. And you'll see at the end of the video exactly how infuriating that can get, because after beating Sabrina, you know, then you got to find your way back, and if you're like me and you thought that you knew the shortcut to get out and it didn't work, and you essentially get lost, then you just find yourself doing teleport after teleport after teleporter again and again and again until you either A, find the exit randomly, or find where Sabrina is and just continuously just go in the reverse of what you were doing earlier. Once again, just going straight to the right or straight to the left, and then eventually you're going to find yourself back at the entrance. Something that they did fix in Gen 4's remake, where there was two teleporters with Sabrina, the one that you utilize to first get to Sabrina in the first place, and another teleporter that just takes you all the way back to the entrance. A lot easier, obviously. But anyways, so as we can see, just like with the last gym, just because this is a psychic gym doesn't mean that we're not going too well out of the realm of using other styles of Pokemon, such as using a ghost poison type, you know, just because, why not, I guess. You know, again, just a little bit confusing. You got your Slowpoke and your Slowbro that we already went against. You got your Abracadabra and Alakazam, of which that we will be going against. You've got your Execute and Executor, you know, and I don't exactly think that either of those show up in this gym. I could be wrong on that one. And then you got your Mr. Mime and your Jinx, and there's a lot of psychic types out there, and yet here we are going against Ghost Poison, Ghastlies, and Haunters. I don't think there's a Gengar in this gym, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. We will see as we continue on with this video. But obviously, you know, once we hit this point, a lot of the future of this game is relatively mostly gym leader based. There is two more like dungeon quote-unquote things that we got coming up in between this gym leader and the next gym leader, and then after that it's just the one big Victory Road dungeon, and then we are relatively done. I pretty much am 2 videos, I believe, off of getting all of the rendering videos done in order for me to do the post commentary, and we are on part 28 right now. So I believe after 28 we then have, I want to say, another 7 videos to go after this one, if I am not mistaken. I very well could be mistaken. It might be another 8 or so, but we're relatively close to being done, which feels good considering the fact that this had, has been in the making since 2 years ago, I want to say. 2 years ago, year and a half ago, I don't know, when I originally wanted to come back to YouTube and want to do Pokemon Blue and then just kind of gave up on it, so going all the way back to there to now, it's like, yeah, this has been like a couple years coming of actually being done with Gen 1 of Pokemon, and if you also include having done Gen 2 first, it's been a 5-6 year ordeal, and took way too long to be able to get the series out and completely finished up, and said before, I'll say it again, I cannot wait to be done with it, because again, Gen 1 to me personally is only fun for so long, and I had played it to try and complete the entirety of the Pokedex, something that even to this point I still have not fully done, because again, I got into Pokemon relatively late, so catching all 151 Pokemon was not exactly something that was really much on my bucket list. And around the time of recording this, it was a couple months after I did want to look to get all 151 Pokemon onto my Pokedex, until it came to a bit of a screeching halt, because I gotta get a copy of Red and do those trade overs and get like link cables in order to trade, probably even with my gold version to get with what I need, stuff like that. But the other thing that kind of brought to an entire screeching halt was that myself and James were actually unaware that there is no way to transfer Pokemon between Gens 2 and 3, which was something, again, we were very unaware of. We did not know that the only 2 generations you can't trade between one another is Gen 2 and Gen 3. Not exactly sure why. I'm assuming it has to do something with the way the Game Boy Advance cartridges are made and how it works with, I guess, the data of the Pokemon on one of the older ones. I don't know. I found it a little bit strange, considering the fact that when you trade from Gen 1 to Gen 2, you then have the special split, which I thought would be relatively hard, but they were able to take care of that, so I don't know what it is exactly about Gen 2 not being able to trade with Gen 3. Not exactly sure on that. Someone out there knows, go ahead and let me know. I'm actually very curious on that. I know I could do the research myself, but I also know that I've got myself about, looks like another 8 minutes left in this video, and with my horrible short-term memory, that's all I need to forget that I'm supposed to be looking that up in the first place. So do Frosty a solid and, find the answer for him to let him know, just in case he did forget to, double check and see exactly why it is that you cannot trade between Gens 2 and 3. Again, every other generation is okay. It's just Gen 2 and 3 that you can't. Always found that a little bit weird, and that kind of stopped my whole entire wanting to get all 151 Pokemon and then all 252 Pokemon in Gen 2. It was kind of like one of those, just like, yeah, maybe I can go ahead and go out of my way and do that, but now it's just like, what's the point? Because then I can't trade them over to Gen 3 afterwards, so there's actually no point on that. So that was a little bit disappointing, kind of, to me. But because of that, looking to grind that much Pokemon and then doing this immediately after, I kind of Pokemon myself out a little bit, because it's like I'm playing it, and then I'm playing it to record it, and then I'm watching the recording to get rid of all the extras for the edits, and then I gotta watch it again to do the commentary, and then I gotta watch it again to make sure that the audio portion with the commentary fits the video, and then put it on. I'm just kind of Pokemoned out right now, I gotta say. But I also did, at the same time, I remember a couple videos ago I was talking about how the channel False Sweat Gaming really made me want to go my way and watch more competitive VGC Pokemon, because now that I know a little bit more about how certain Pokemon worked in certain competitive natures, going out of the way to watch some of the more recent championships was actually really interesting to see how it all fits with one another. But I'm also relatively, still kind of confused on a lot of things, because again, having not played Gen 7 yet, I don't know what the heck an Ultra Beast is, other than it's just another fancy name for a legendary that's not actually a legendary, and I don't know what makes them so great other than just having pretty much the legendary style stats, I guess. I don't know. All I know is that I'm sitting there watching it and I'm like, that's a thing and it is strong. That's really about it. So, yeah, but that's actually been relatively fun to do, is getting caught up with some of that. And I'm gonna have to keep my ear open for whenever another Pokemon VGC eventually rolls around. I thought it was back in the spring, but apparently it's not. It's more in the fall, I believe, and even that might be a little bit wrong. I'm not 100% sure. I know the one that I watched last was, I think, even then just Sun and Moon and not Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon or whatever it was that they were called. So I think that one's relatively coming up in the next couple months. I could be 100% wrong. I don't know. I do not remember off the top of my head at the moment, so yeah. Frosty does not know exactly when that's supposed to be. But whenever it is, I'm keeping my ear out for it because I found it a little bit interesting, a little bit fascinating to watch and see like how people have to predict certain switch-ins with certain Pokemon and what they're supposed to do for something like that. But then also watching stuff like Z moves gets super confusing because then it's like, what the heck? You know, at one point I was watching, it's like, hey, look, Mega Evolutions. And it's like, wow, Mega Evolutions just kind of disappeared. And now it's the use of Z moves. And now it's like, is the next generation that's coming out on the Switch, is that now going to get rid of Z moves for another random thing? Or are Megas going to come back? Or like, are people just not using Megas because they're just not good in VGC anymore? Or is in Sun and Moon, did they just like scrap the idea of Megas and made that a Gen 6 only thing? I don't know. All I know is that as a viewer that doesn't do really much competitive Pokemon at all, I have zero idea what's going on, and it fascinates the fuck out of me. Like, it absolutely fascinates the fuck out of me to watch that kind of stuff, which is really cool. And I'm not exactly sure where I'm supposed to look, but I haven't gone on my way to look too much because I've mostly been just watching some VGC stuff. To go on my way and watch competitive singles matches. That is another one that I actually have been wanting to go on my way to watch more of because, again, it just seems so fascinating to me, having to do certain predictions and what Pokemon can sweep and what Pokemon are just like good at this and really bad at that. And, you know, I want to watch my boy Quagsire because, you know, apparently he's all over the goddamn place in singles and you'll never see him in VGC because he's absolutely trashed here in VGC. So, you know, just trying to get myself, you know, a little bit more educated and just watching some of that stuff. But at the same time, it doesn't really take much for me to enjoy just watching any kind of like, you know, video game-based tournament, championship, those kind of things. They're all, like, even if I have no idea what's going on, it just interests the crap out of me just to, like, come in, watching something I have no idea what's going on, and then just the absolute hype of not knowing what's going on. Because after many years of playing and watching League, I kind of fell out of, like, watching professional League because it's just boring to me now. There's no excitement factor. I kind of know what's going to happen within the first couple minutes of the game, and unless like something random happens at the last minute, you know, it basically becomes all about the same in my eyes. So I much prefer going my way to watch something that I have no idea what it is because then it's more fun. But anyways, we're going against Sabrina, level 38 Kadabra, Disable, Psybeam, Recover, and Psychic, Mr. Mind level 37, Confusion, Barrier, Light Screen, and Double Slap. Nothing too hard at the moment, especially if you are well leveled enough. But unfortunately, you know, Lapras is not well leveled enough, so kind of has a little bit of a harder time. But it's more interesting because it's like, well, I mean, if something like Mr. Mime is going to use something like Barrier, well, that's not going to matter to me because I'm using nothing but my special status. Anyways, we got ourselves a Venomoth. Again, not a psychic type, but does know psychic moves. That's kind of why I use it. Poison Powder, not Power. Poison Powder, Leech Life, Stun Spore, and Psybeam. Really, the only thing to really worry about is like the Psybeam, especially bringing out my own Venomoth. Leech Life, yeah, it's going to heal it a little bit, but it's not going to heal it enough to survive another Psychic. And because mine is a higher level, higher speed, so easier to take care of. Bing, bang, boom, come back again some other day. And then lastly, we have the level 43 Alakazam, Psybeam, Recover, Psywave, and Reflect. Psywave being the more interesting move, and I know I'm going to butcher this, but I remember, like, it takes a certain power, or no, it takes its level, or the opponent's level, I think, or something to that, and then its attack is multiplied by 0.5, 1 or 1.5, I believe, and that's what its damage output is. So it could be relatively strong or relatively weak, and as you saw right there, it was relatively weak. And I can't remember, I think it's just completely random on which one of those 3 percentages it decides to pick. I don't know if there's anything else that goes with it, but at the end of the day, it, you know, it's too much of a gamble for my liking. But before we finish off the video, I do want to see exactly what it is that Psywave does, because like I said, I used to know, but I need to make sure that I remember. So in Gen 1, it was random amount of damage, varying between 1 and 1.5 of the user's level. I always thought it was 0.5, but it's between 1 and 1.5. But anyways, as I stated before, as you can see with the speed up going on, it's really easy to get lost if you take one small bad move. And, you know, if you thought you knew what the shortcut was and it really wasn't, kind of like what I did, then yeah, you're just going to find yourself going in complete circles, looking like a complete idiot, and then you got to speed up the video in order to finish it up. But that is going to do it for this part, ladies and gentlemen. Sabrina is down. We've only got 2 more gyms to go, but we've got a lot more to do on the edge of that. So enjoy the rest of your evenings, and we'll catch you guys on the next part.